Hey guys, it's Hunter and welcome back to another Q&A. Before we get into it, I'm going to be renaming this series. Q&A is such a boring name. The original name was the Comments Below Show, but at the time nobody really knew what it was and nobody clicked on it. So yeah, should it go back to the Comments Below Show, or do you have another suggestion for the name? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and let's get on with the show. Is BC Rich dead? I'm not a BC Rich insider. I don't know what's going on with BC Rich exactly. I feel like they've been limping along for a while, but it doesn't look like they're dead. They had a booth at this year's NAMM. They're very active on social media, posts on Facebook and Instagram almost every day, which are generally good signs. I can see why people would be worried though. I'm not entirely sure who's still on their artist roster, but it looks like over the last couple of years, they've lost some pretty high profile players. Matt Tuck from Bullet for My Valentine, for example, used to have this signature BC Rich flying V thing. He's now playing Gibsons. And Paolo from Trivium played BC Rich for a long time. He used a Mockingbird bass, I think, in the Paul Harder video, and he had a signature Warlock bass for a while, which looked absolutely massive. But anyways, he's now moved on to Warwick basses. BC Rich still have Kerry King though, who's been their main guy forever, so that's good. If they lost him, that's when I would say they were in trouble. At NAMM 2016, they told the Tone King in an interview that a new company had taken over the license for BC Rich, and they were going for a full reboot, but they had come up with the new lineup from scratch in a shorter period of time than they would have liked. So my guess is that they're still trying to figure out what works for them in terms of streamlining and product lineup. But yeah, not dead. I mean, honestly, you guys know that I prefer my traditional shapes. I'm not a huge fan of the pointy BC Rich stuff, but I've always thought the 10-string bitches were kind of cool in concept. And there are a lot of fans of BC Rich. They're an iconic brand, so if they went completely under, that would kind of suck. Right now, there's just a teaser page for the new site, so I'm kind of curious. Let's see what happens. What's wrong with Ibanez related questions, lol? I mean, there's nothing really wrong with Ibanez related questions. I've just said multiple times before in Q&As and in comments that I really just don't care for them. And still, every day I get asked questions about Ibanez. It's like it's approaching meme-like levels at this point, which is kind of funny, but at the same time, it's like my answer doesn't change. I still just don't care for Ibanez. I know they have the ARZ Iron Label single cut, but it doesn't look like anything special. Matte black, EMGs, it looks like it's there just to fill a gap in the lineup. Not that interesting, not that inspiring. You can help support the channel through Patreon, which is like direct fan funding. Thank you so much to all the people who are already doing this. Link is in the description, and the first funding goal is I'll demo a freaking Ibanez. Probably something like the Jake Bowen signature from Periphery with the DiMarzio Titans. It looks pretty cool, I guess, for an Ibanez. Are you gonna try a Schecter guitar soon? I would love to hear your opinion about them. If you could travel anywhere in the world, all paid, where would you go? Yeah, Schecter always fell into that same category as like Jackson, Ibanez, Dean, stereotypically metal guitars that just never really appealed to me all that much. Until this year, where I got to try a couple at NAMM. Well, not try them as in plug them in. I didn't have the opportunity to do that at the booth, but I definitely picked them up and strummed them. They actually felt really nice, and I don't know whether that's because they only bring the best of them to NAMM, so it'd be cool to put them through the whole review process that I do here. The issue that I seem to be running into with Schecter is that the ones that I want to try are all consistently unavailable. The Schecter F1, the Solo 2 Custom, they've been listed as available soon on Sweetwater for months. At least every time I've checked. I reached out to Schecter directly, never heard back, probably because the channel's too small, and yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Schecter right now. Logistical issues of getting one, or at least getting one that's interesting. And if it was all paid for, instead of traveling anywhere in the world, I would travel out of it. Nothing crazy like going to Mars, because I'm not so down to spend months cramped in a little spaceship to get there, and then months to get back. But something like going to the moon or orbiting the Earth for a few days, see the planet from up there, that would be awesome. That's my dream trip. And I hear Metallica might be planning to play a show in space, so two birds, one stone. 1. What are your opinions on 7/8 string guitars and Telecaster shaped guitars, and would you consider doing reviews or videos with those types of guitars? 2. What do you look for in a guitar? What makes you want to buy a guitar when you're trying it out / playing it? Okay, so for your first question, I tried the Matt Heafy 7-string Les Paul, really liked it, and I actually own a 7-string Tele type guitar. It's this Michael Kelly 507. I've done demos on both of those, by the way. I have a huge backlog of stuff. Like, I get that sometimes it's easier to ask a question in the comments, but if you just search Agufish Telecaster, it's literally the first thing that comes up. Anyways, even though it's just another string, and I've heard this from other people as well, it kind of unlocks a different type of songwriting, a different type of creative thinking from a 6-string. Like, it's kind of hard to explain, but it's almost like playing a different instrument. Now, 8 strings might be a bit much. The neck is huge, as is the 8th string. It's kind of ridiculous. Though, knowing me, I'm eventually gonna find an 8 string that I really like, and it's gonna change my mind completely on all of that. And in terms of Telecasters, I love the body shape. I don't think there's a cooler 7-string than a 7-string Tele. If you disagree, fight me. Might just be 6 strings for now, but keep an eye out for more Tele stuff soon. Hint, hint. And for your second question, when I look to buy a guitar, I basically ask myself one question. Would I be happy with this guitar 10 years down the line? I look at all the stuff that I can't change, or at least change easily, so that's look and feel. Like the pickups, you can always switch them out. Obviously, it's better if it comes with good ones, that way you don't have to swap them, or if you still choose to, you can get good money by selling them to pay for the new ones. But that's much easier to do than change stuff that has a huge impact on how a guitar feels. Stuff like fingerboard radius and neck profile. Technically not impossible, but very difficult and expensive to do without completely messing the guitar up. And look sounds like such a shallow thing to be concerned about, but at least to me, it's pretty important. It sounds really dumb when I say it out loud, but I'm much more creatively inspired when I'm playing a guitar that I think looks cool, that doesn't look like complete crap, that doesn't have somebody else's graphics all over it. Completely psychological, but still valid. That's why I think custom or semi-custom guitars are the future. And obviously it needs to be put together well. It needs to feel like it'll last forever and have great sustain. If I feel like 10 years in the future me isn't going to enjoy this guitar, I'm not buying it. And another question I just thought of, what is the worst concert experience you've had? My worst concert experience was at the 2010 Rockstar Uproar Festival. It was my first concert, tons of kick-ass bands. I was at the small stage waiting for Airborne and Hell Yeah, who put on amazing shows, especially Airborne. Joel, the frontman, is crazy, like clinically insane. He was smashing energy drinks against his head to open them, rode on a bouncer for like 5 minutes through the crowd while soloing, so much energy. That's actually still the best concert experience I've had, so it was a day of extremes. But anyways, the opening act was this band called New Medicine, and they were just bad. The music was horrendous, the vocals were not good, the live sound mix was awful, and I grew up in China. This was my first hard rock metal concert, so it was really disheartening. Like, it was so bad, it actually made me kind of question the legitimacy of heavy music. Was it all just like studio magic? Anyways, that was a really shitty feeling that lasted for all of about 30 minutes before Hail the Villain, Hell Yeah, Airborne, Hailstorm, Stone Sour, Disturbed, and Avenged Sevenfold pounded the sense back into my ear holes. But yeah, that band was freaking terrible. I've also been shushed to see their concert, but that was my own fault. See, they're kind of meh. And that is it for this episode. I'd love to hear your thoughts on anything discussed in this video, so make sure to leave them in the comments. Suggestions on a new series name? What do you think is going on with BC Rich? What do you look for when buying a guitar? And what has been your worst concert experience? Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. As always, thanks so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I will see you for the next video.